Is the time to kill on Deadlock too fast? Are we just stuck in CC chains? Are we getting one shot all the time? Is the egg too strong, not strong enough? There's a lot of questions that we're aiming to address today. Or is it even a good item concept, right? A lot of people have just been selling the egg, getting a lot of stats, etc. I know Zergy's been doing that a lot. So today in the Bear Pit, this is a Deadlock podcast. We're going to talk about all of these things, including changes from the most recent patch, which was last week, kind of right after we uploaded the episode. Time to kill, the health of certain heroes, talk about some of the complaints of some of the more OP heroes this patch, or at least, the most hated, like Moan Krill, Viscus, Wraith, Ivy, and Calico, to name a few. And then we're going to talk about Vindicta, how she feels right now, how the egg has been feeling in people's games, and that'll be about it for the episode. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm very excited to discuss all of that. How are you, rkryptic?
I'm doing great, as always. Very excited. Tuesdays are my favorite day. We got a lot that we get to do today. Yeah, I think there's,
Yeah.
there's going to be some fun topics to kind of go over. It's, classic in Yoshi fashion. We're going to upload this episode, and then 30 minutes later, there's going to be another balance patch. So I'm really excited for that to continue happening and just be the the constant that, seems to be happening. Um,
Yep.
yeah, no, it's going to be good. I think the egg is definitely an interesting item, but we'll be talking about that later on. Whether or not it's a good concept, we can dive into that one entirely. But our kind of
Yep.
first topic of the day, really, was going to be kind of picking up a little bit where we left off last week, and a little bit more about the most recent balance patch, kind of this massive increase, I would say, in general health scaling and fatality that happened, whether that was to address time to kill and just how
Yep.
time to kill feels right now in Deadlock. Um, so let's just start there. I think
Hmm?
we saw right after the patch, time to kill was massively shortened. It felt like you were getting
You mean
ins
increased? Oh,
uh
so you mean after the big
the
patch?
big
Sorry,
patch,
after the
yeah, yeah.
big
So
patch.
right when this first
Right.
big patch
Okay.
came out, time to kill felt like it was halved. Like you were dying instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. After the big patch, there was definitely a lot. Like you were dying really fast due to a lot of things, but it's just like they gave most characters more power, which just meant like if everybody has more damage, then everybody dies kind of quicker, right? So it makes a lot of sense. I don't know like how much they thought about that. More so like they just wanted to kind of. I think their goal was just to even out the playing field, but
Absolutely.
between heroes a little bit more. But it did result. It did result in kind of just like everyone just being way stronger and everyone also dying way faster, right? Because they gave everyone more power, but pretty much none of that power was in the form of survivability. So yeah, that did kind of result. I don't think that they were, thrilled about how that played out. And so I think that they were kind of like, okay, well, let's try to address that. And so last week when they did the patch, they kind of like made every green item better,
Yeah.
as well as gave everyone more base HP, and they gave everyone more health scaling. So they kind of like you did like a triple whammy, so to speak, and like they kind of did everything they could to make it so that everyone was tankier, and that was basically their approach. So how has that felt for you so far?
It's been weird because I'll be like 12 minutes into the game and I have like 2200 health on
Yeah.
certain heroes and I'm like, "What?"
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I'm huge. So it's been really weird to adapt to just like the number changes specifically, but I do think the feel of the game is way better. The fact that you're, you know, you actually have a little bit more
Yeah.
ability to kind of react to things happening in fights, or like if you're getting ganked, you don't just like it's not like you just like take your hands off the keyboard type of thing anymore. Like you actually might be able to do some things and outplay them and survive. um I don't know. I think the HP changes are good to address like the time to kill issue that maybe was a little bit of an unexpected side effect of the patch. Um, but
Yeah.
it is, I would say, the weirdest thing for me is getting used to the numbers. Like seeing most
Yeah.
heroes hit like 4,000 health in the late game is wild. And like you see the tanky heroes, like your quote unquote tanky heroes like the Mo, Abrams, running around with like 6,000 7,000 health sometimes, and you're like, what is going on? Like these number the in we're talking about inflation, bro. We have the most health inflation I have ever seen in a video game, and I don't know if it's like a bad thing, like it's technically is there a way to address it? I don't know if the way to
Sure.
address it is going to be to like reduce those numbers and then maybe add like more resistances of some kind, but it kind of ends up working out the same way, I guess. If you know, it's all the same amount of damage, but um, right now
Yeah.
health feels ridiculous in terms of how valuable it is.
Sure. I mean, you know, I think it's one of those things where it's just, you know, it's just a number. So like it can be as high, like technically, like, you know, everyone could have 20,000 health, and if everyone does like a million damage, it wouldn't matter at all, right?
Yeah,
So you know, it's just a number. I don't think it's in that bad of a situation right now. And like, yeah, there's been some inflation, but like, you know, this is not the first time that there's been health inflation, right? I would say that we had similar amount when we kind of like a lot of system changes, but like the item change, the item system change as well. Um, everyone like kind of like lost a lot of like damage and gained a lot of health,
yeah,
so to speak. Defensive items. So one thing that Deadlock has struggled with for a long time is that defensive items have kind of sucked a little bit. And I think right now we're in a meta where defensive items are actually good for the first
yeah,
time in a long time. Like, you know, the resilience items for a long time were like not that good, but now they've adjusted them so that, you know, the threshold for them to start having an effect is not 30% of your health, it's like 50%. And then on top of that, everyone has more health. So, you know, there's more like time for it to be effective. So, you know, it's I think it's going in the right direction when it comes to that. But I don't know. I guess we'll see.
yeah. It's gonna be one of those things where it could have been like just a temporary like boo boo band aid that they put on, being like, okay, we realize what's happened. We need to like buff the health numbers up. But like you said, it is kind of just a number. It's just another lever for balancing things in a
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
right? And this was probably the fastest that they could come up, like the fastest type of lever that they could pull to address the issue without, you know, going in and doing a full pass on a
Yep.
lot of heroes again and adjusting numbers. And so that's why I'm not, it doesn't bother me. It's just, it is weird to see, is all it is, right? Like, just like
Sure. Yeah.
normally when you're in the mid game, you're playing, say you're playing like an M1 hero like Haze or Seven. Normally you'd be sitting at like, I don't know, 1400, 1500, 1600 HP, you know, and now you're just like, I have 2800 health. Like, very cool. You know, it's kind of weird. But um yeah, it doesn't bother me. It's just
Definitely, it is definitely a little odd.
yeah, you just got to get used to it now, right? Now you just have to figure out
Yeah.
where the new baseline is of like, oh, I have low health. I
Yep.
only have 2000 health now, you know, as opposed to, you know, I only have like, I don't know, 1600, but it's
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
fun little
It's just the
change.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fun. I think it's I mean, I've had a lot more fun with like defensive items. Like I think, I mean, obviously like counterspell's always been really good, but
Yeah.
before, the defensive items that you could consider were basically counterspell, metal skin, warp stone, stamina mastery. Those were basically your defensive items on most heroes, because it was like, all right, buying actual defensive items isn't good enough. And so you buy like these defensive items that are kind of like defensive because of very specific effects. Like warpstone allows you to dodge stuff, which is obviously very valuable. Same for stamina mastery. And then counterspell allowed you to like fully block things, and metal skin also allowed you to fully block things, right? So those were like the main ones. But now seeing a lot more you know, variety around it. And another part about the health change that a lot of people kind of glossed over, right, is the fact that this buffs pretty much anything that does percent damage is buffed
Yeah.
by that, right? So like siphon bullets was buffed in a few ways, really. But yeah, siphon bullets is better because of that. Toxic bullets is better because of that. Decay is better because of that, just to name a few things. So anything that does percentage damage got buffed because everyone has a little bit more health. And siphon bullets has felt really strong
Yes.
from my perspective. I don't know if it's OP necessarily, but it has felt really strong, and I think it's a good anti-tank option. And even though everyone has more HP, I haven't really felt like we're in as hard of like a brawler meta as we were before, where
Interesting.
unfortunately some brawler heroes are still insanely strong, like for example Moon Krill.
Yep.
um and you know, guys, to an extent, well, she's not really a brawler per se, but she's got kind of this weird role where she's like a tanky kind of carry.
Yeah, she's just a tanky carry.
um,
Yeah,
she's a tanky carry that doesn't move around very fast. But you know, she like the tanky heroes are strong, but also the not super tanky heroes are very strong too, right? Like if we look at the heroes that people are complaining about, you know, Viscus, Wraith, Ivy, Calico, like some of these heroes are not really that tanky, but they're very powerful still.
yeah. So that's what I was gonna ask is like how like with the health changes, like what kind of heroes did it benefit maybe more than others in like this in this balance patch like
Yeah.
because it is something that they bumped the baseline and then they gave everyone a
Yeah.
little bit more health scaling and then the boon investment as well. So it's like in some parts the obviously if you think about the fact that like certain heroes that just have generally less HP starting HP than others, they benefit more from the flat HP increases, right? than
Yeah.
than your tanky boys. They're
Yeah.
getting a much higher percentage increase, but then the percent HP
Yeah.
scaling is a kind of an interesting lever to be like, oh, but here's some more left to the already really tanky heroes, right? So do you think this was like kind of an even buff across the board, or does this help certain heroes maybe more than others?
In my opinion, this helps like the squishier heroes more than the tankier heroes.
Okay.
I think um just on average, like it's not necessarily that bad for the tanky heroes, but it makes the counters to those heroes also more effective, right? Like the toxic bullets and the
Yeah.
K's and the siphon bullets, etc. Like, you know, I've been playing Lash with siphon bullets, and when I go against Mo, like obviously Mo is incredibly powerful, but like I'm doing a lot of damage with siphon bullets, like a lot, right? And it's like siphon and toxic are more effective, like more effective counters to Mo than ever, essentially. Um, and yeah, so I don't think it was even. I do think it benefits the squishy characters more. I do think like a hero like Mina is flying under the radar a little bit. I think it's just because she's not that easy to play, but like, you know, she's like really really strong right now. Like she arguably got buffed basically like later in the game, right?
Yep.
Because she has triple bats and all that stuff. So anyway, like a hero like Mina got buffed by the base HP changes. She got buffed because of her triple bats late game. So there's a lot of things like that I think a lot of people kind of just gloss over or don't think about necessarily, but she hasn't been as complained about as some of the other heroes. But I think in the hands of a very good player, and like we've been kind of seeing it a little bit more in like the tournament play, is like Mina is like incredibly powerful right now for sure.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, we haven't really seen Mina obviously went from being Thanos to being a little bit, I would say, on the weaker side of the radar for a little while. So, there's always that kind of natural cycle. But yeah, I could see it. The triple bats was a really cool change to the ability. I thought to myself, I was like, this probably makes her OP, but then I just still wasn't seeing her all that often. And maybe it is just
Yeah,
because she's very hard hero to play, and people have also just like to me, I feel like there's a shared hero pool for some of the Mina players where they're like, "Oh, my Mina got worse," and now they're playing heroes like Celeste or Silver,
sure.
right? And now they're just like, I'm on these heroes now, right?" I feel like there was a little bit of a shared hero pool between those for some reason. At least anecdotally, that's what my friends did. Like the several of my player friends who were playing Mina, like just jumped on Silver and jumped on Celeste, and like that have been their heroes that they've been playing. Um,
Okay.
so I don't know, but
And they're all DLC players.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
just
yeah.
only play the DLC
They just play
heroes.
the new heroes. Yeah, yeah. No, I have a couple friends that only play like S tier heroes, but Mina is yeah. I'm interested. I'm gonna keep an eye out for her. I've been so on Siphon Bolt specifically. I do think there's been a couple games where I'm actually like buying it very early. I've been playing like Gun Calico with like an early Siphon rush. I get my like two investments and I just go
Mm-hmm.
straight into Siphon, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it would be like 20 minutes of the game, a fight breaks out, and I have like 3,800 health because I'm just like
Yeah,
just holding down Siphon bullets on whatever the heroes are, and it's just the item feels crazy in the right spike and on the right heroes, and you're just like, oh, okay, pretty neat. So yeah, it's
it's
glad
definitely really good.
I like the state that it's in now because I think in a lot of previous states it has felt underwhelming. Uh, and now it
Hmm.
feels like, oh, like if you see, everyone's going to be tanky, so it's kind of just like generally good. But if you see a lot of specifically like very tanky heroes and you can get it somewhat early on the right hero, it
Yeah,
feels like a really powerful item.
it is 100%. And I think that's good, right?
Yeah.
I think every item should be powerful, and I think like I mean, okay, I take it back a little bit. Like every item should be powerful to an extent, in the sense that I do think that some items should be like situational, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like Siphon should be powerful in the right situations, which I think it is right now. It's not powerful all the time, but when you get later in the game, when everybody has more health, then it becomes quite powerful, and then that's fine. So no problem with that. Um, One thing we wanted to talk about the heroes is like, okay, like what are some of the more complained heroes about? And I think Mo and Krill has definitely been, on top of everyone's mind. I think living rent free in my head as well. Where it's like this hero is just
You
very,
can't
very,
die,
very, very
bro.
strong. Yeah, you can't kill him. And the thing about Morgan Kroll is that he got buffed in like so many like ways, but like, just changing the scaling, for example, on his one, right? Is like Morgan Kroll is a hero that if you give him more damage, it also makes it harder to kill him. All right, so damage is survivability, and that's what makes the hero a little tricky sometimes to balance. Is like the more damage you give him, or the more survivability he gets inherently, just because a lot of his survivability is based on the fact that he heals for like a million. I'm sure you guys have like been on a Mo and Krill, like, right? You got like 3 teammates just tag teaming him, and then he presses one, and all of a sudden he's like full HP, and you're like, oh shit. And he's like in burrow, so he's got a bunch of damage resistance. So he's got bullet resistance, spirit resist, so you don't really do much to him. I think Mo is like one of those heroes that frustrates people. I think the most frustrating part about Mo for most players, okay, is the fact that he just presses 4 and you're stunned. And a lot of people are not coming from MOBA backgrounds. And even if you are coming from a MOBA background, just the idea of like someone just pressing 4 on you and just completely disabling you is not great, I would say.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I literally played a game the other day, and it's like it was like a good game because we made a couple like really essential comebacks, and we're against a
Sure.
Mo lineup, and it's one of those things where it's like you fucking know there's a ticking time bomb
Yeah.
of Mo is gonna grab the one person on your
Right.
team that can't get grabbed, and then the game ends. And that's exactly what happened. And we're like, it finally happened, guys. Like we
Yep.
avoided this for like 40 minutes, and we almost made a huge
Alas.
comeback. But you know what? He has Warpstone, Phantom Strike, Greater Expansion, and he just yoinked someone from a mile away, and that's it. It's just
Yeah.
I mean, it's like partly designed that way where it's like if Mo gets to the late game, like yeah, he should feel strong. Like he is a very strong hero. It's the problem of like he feels strong always. Like at every stage of the game, this hero feels incredibly powerful.
Yep.
And I've been playing heroes with tons of anti-heals, specifically because I know I don't play Mo, and I'm like, if I'm gonna be playing against
Sure.
Mo, so if I'm playing Calico, I have like Healbane, Toxic, and Siphon bullets. If I'm playing Venator, I
Yep.
have Max Grenade into a Healbane or Toxic bullets, and it's just
Yep.
like or
Hmm.
Crippling Headshot or something, right? Inhibitor, whatever.
Sure.
It's just like he still just heals and he doesn't die, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what can I do to this hero? Um,
Yep.
and yeah, I think the frustration, obviously, that people can tell from me right now, is probably universally felt across the board right now. I don't know exactly what is going to be changing on Mo, but I
Sure.
I praise Yoshi every time the hero is on my team and not the other.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want the hero on the enemy team. That's for sure. And I think it's the part is like there is counterplay to Mo. It's just it is kind of out of your hands. You know what I mean? Like you can stack debuff resistance.
Yeah,
That's the only play that you have yourself. So what if you want to deal with it? If Mo's targeting you and you want to deal with it, you really have like 2 main ways, or 3, I guess. One is you buy Unstoppable and you just pop Unstoppable. Very expensive, right? 6,400 item. 2 is you stack debuff resistance. So you buy items like I don't know, you buy weighted shots. You buy weighted shots, blood tribute, which got buffed. And then you just have like 50+% debuff resistance, and then you don't get grabbed for that long, and that can be good. And then the third option is you buy a counterspell and you hope to react and counterspell it. That's an option, and I've done it before where you can kind of like if you go near a Mo, they just can't resist grabbing you.
yeah.
So if you like just go by them real quick and you parry, you'll almost always counterspell it. But the reality is, a lot of counter options are just like hope a teammate saves you or stuns the Mo out of it, and you have no control over it. And I think that is part of the frustrating experience. I'm not saying that should be changed because teamwork is inherent to a MOBA, and that's not really an issue. But Mo is always going to be an extremely frustrating character to play against when he's really, really strong. And I think, it's been a little bit since he's been really strong. Now, I know the large majority of people are always like, oh, Mo's always been really good or whatever, but it's been a little bit since he's actually been like really strong.
Yeah.
But they kind of removed his biggest weakness, which was his early laning stage, where now his early laning stage is like crazy. And so, he doesn't really have like a lot of weaknesses, as you said.
Yeah, you would just shoot him in the head, and he'd have to just sit there and wait for his QSR, politely for like 4 or 5 waves, and then he'd be like, "Okay, I
Yeah.
can sustain now with QSR and
Yeah.
Scorn." But
Mhm.
now it just doesn't. Yeah, it really doesn't seem to matter. Like the hero is just kind of vibing his way through the lane.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
He's just chilling.
Yeah, he's a menace right now to society. So all you Mo players, have some fun while it lasts. Take advantage of it if you want. If you've
True.
never played Mo, now
True.
is the literal best time to ever go experiment and try Mo. Um, so just a PSA out
Everyone's
there for
dismay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We have some other heroes we want to talk about though. In terms of the order, I guess it doesn't really matter. I've been playing a lot of Calico. We can talk about that one, or we can talk about kind of the elephant
Yeah.
in the room, which has been
Yeah.
Wraith
Go for it in
lately.
Calico.
Okay, so Calico, a lot of people I think are getting a little annoyed with Calico. She did get nerfed a little bit, obviously in the Tuesday patch last week to kind of address the free
Yeah.
souls. But I think the free souls is the thing that people are probably complaining about the most. Um, the leaping slash giving, marking a hero and giving you 225 souls if they die, right? Like that
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
it's pretty strong. Let's just call it what it
Yeah.
is. So I don't know if it's a good design or not, because Calico is, in my opinion, kind of supposed to be this roaming ganking hero, right? Otherwise, it eliminates the whole purpose of the hero. So I understand why they put that in the kit. I don't know if it just needs to be a number tweak. I don't know if there's other things wrong with her, right? I could look back through some of my games to see how many souls it actually generates. I can't imagine it's more than like, it probably is like a couple thousand souls by the end of the game, I imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, it's going to be a few thousand because like it's very generous, right? So
yeah,
one thing that I like, which is causing some problems, right, is that all of these things that they're basically like, like you generate souls or you get like a stacking bonus or something. Now they're making them very like lenient,
yeah,
or excuse me, so that even if you don't get the last hit, you still get the benefit from it, right? And that has its advantages and its disadvantages, right? Biggest advantage of that is that, well, it feels better because now you don't have to like get angry at your teammates if they steal your kill. For example, on Vindicta ult, right? That's just one example. However, that also makes it so that on Calico, basically, if you're involved in a fight and somebody dies, you're just printing money. Right. So it's definitely a few thousand every game that you're getting from that. And, the question is like, you can have like a soul generation in the game. Like it's very difficult to balance.
yeah.
Okay, it's not impossible. It is possible for sure, and they've done it, right? Like if you look at something like Bounty Hunter in Dota, right?
That's his whole thing.
But that's his whole thing, exactly. So but that's his whole thing, right? The entire kit is designated around that as well. Whereas in this game, Calico just like kind of already wants to roam, already is very good at it, and then on top of that, she just prints money. And early game, like it leads to crazy snowballs where basically if you feed Calico in lane, I'm sure you've had experiences like this, right? Where if you feed Calico in lane, like everybody's in for a bad time. Like even if she just gets 1 or 2 kills, she just starts this crazy snowball of doom that's incredibly difficult to stop because all she has to do is just like roam around, and then she gets given like a bunch of free souls. Even if she's not solo killing people, all she needs to do is like show up to a fight, leaping slash, and the person dies within 4 seconds. She just gets 225 extra souls.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean the thing that is, I think the part that makes it really strong obviously is like that soul generation typically leads to her hitting her 4.8k spikes much earlier than other heroes, and
Hmm.
right now it's like it gives her so much leniency when she's just like, oh, I have my 4.8k vitality investment, which has been buffed, and everyone else is sitting on like one, maybe two green items, and you're like, I'm gonna dive your guardian and kill you because I have like 1800 health at 10 minutes. Like it's it's
Yeah,
making it's making the
the
game.
snowball of doom.
Yeah, it's making this massive snowball, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think the numbers could be tweaked a little bit. I don't know if you move it. Like, it doesn't feel like something you want to move to a tier 3 because the tier 3 investment on Leaping Slash is very good. And I think nerfing that would like kind of ruin the whole kind of build up on Leaping Slash. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what the fix is other than just being like you get less souls or removing it entirely and putting a different type of mechanic there that that would work. But then, maybe
Yeah.
if you do that, then she can just probably kill people faster because, the trade off is you'd have to give her something in exchange if you get rid of the
Right.
souls.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm on the side of probably getting rid of the souls. I'm not sure that I just like it altogether. And we had it on Vindicta, and it's like, well, like the reason why they removed it from Vindicta is probably because it kind of led to a very like one-dimensional. Oh, and my camera died, but I'll keep talking for a second while I replug my camera, so no panic. But yeah, it kind of led to a more one-dimensional playstyle where she's very reliant on like snowballing, and I guess either the developers or the community or both didn't like that. And that's my understanding of why that was changed to give Vindicta something a little bit more fun. So maybe instead of giving souls, you give Calico a stacking bonus like they did with other heroes, right? That could be an idea where it's like, hey, Calico gets bonus melee damage for every kill, or like,
Yo.
her leaping slash does like, bonus damage. Like, who knows, right? Something like that.
I could, yeah, that actually would be really fun. I like similar. We're talking about Vindicta, but the same type of change was made on Drifter, right? Where he no longer has to get the kill to get his blood scent stacks, but they reduced
Yep.
the amount he gains on the stacks to try and compensate for it, which is a much
Yep.
better like feels good type of thing. And I mean, there's a whole conversation to be had about Drifter as a hero right now, but I think with
Yep.
Calico, yeah, maybe getting rid of the souls and turning, if you want to turn it into some sort of stacking mechanic, that would be great. When you look at Dota, there is essentially a stacking mechanic for every single attribute in the game. Um, Strength, agility, intellect, armor, attack speed, damage. Like there is a stacking mechanic for everything, split among different heroes. So it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to go down that route and just introduce a new type of stacking mechanic, whether that's melee damage, whether whatever it is,
Yep.
onto leaping slash, and kind of do that for the ability. I don't think that would be too strong. You would just have to tweak the numbers, but it could definitely work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that could work for sure. Now, are they going to do it? I mean, who knows? But I think I would prefer that over the guaranteed snowball of doom because generating souls just like feels bad. And the thing is, souls in this game are also tied to your level,
Yeah.
which means that not only is she like gaining a bunch of like items ahead of you, but she's also just has more HP, does more damage, has more everything.
Yeah.
Which is kind of I think leads to the part of the problem at the very minimum. So yeah, something to think about. Yeah.
All right. And so we are back. Now we're going to be talking about, we just kind of talked a little bit about Calico, but there's a lot
Yeah.
more heroes we still want to talk about. I think, to me, I think Viscus is got to be talked about. This hero is,
Yeah.
uh, wow, how do we even say it? More annoying than ever.
It was obnoxious for sure.
I don't know if Gun Viscus was more annoying than the current iteration of him, but it is, it's a different type of annoying for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think Gun Viscus was more annoying,
It was just
but I
too
think Gun
strong.
Viscus was like, yeah, Gun Viscus was like, it just felt lame.
Yeah.
I think it's different. Like this Viscus doesn't necessarily feel lame. Well, okay, it does feel lame actually, a little bit. And the punch Viscus part feels kind of lame. If I get like, okay, there's one thing where if I get balled on by Viscus and he's perfectly executing his bounces and his movement and he's dribbling on me and I'm getting permastunned, like, is that fun? I mean, getting perma CC'd in a MOBA is never really fun, right? But it's like I can accept it because I'm like, okay, at least like, okay, there's counterplay. First of all, I could have bought counterspell, right? I could have warp stone out of the way. Like, there's a couple things that I could have done and played better in order to, kind of like make it not as painful. However, when you just get punched 15 times in a row, it doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot of counterplay because yeah, you can parry it. But I think one thing that people like don't talk about when it comes like to parrying is, look, at the end of the day, like parrying is cool and all, but if you're in the middle of combat and there's a bunch of things happening, it's incredibly difficult to parry the punches. And even if you do parry the punches, you're still effectively stunning yourself from everything else, right?
Yep.
So
I
you're
have
just like standing still.
every single game against Viscous, my like second item is rebuttal. Every single game. It is ridiculous that like it forces the entire team to build rebuttal. Um
Sure.
and like in the fights, like you said, it's like, oh, yay, I parried one of the punches, but then like you said, you stun lock yourself, and then there's 8
Yeah.
more coming your way, and the moment you miss a parry, it's the same feeling of being face to face with a Billy who's just got his gun shooting you, and you parry, and you're like, oh no. And you don't parry him, and he's like, I'm gonna beat you like real hard now,
Yep.
right? It's the same feeling as Viscous. You're like, oh, I missed my parry, and now Viscous is like sick.
Now this is gonna take me down.
But he's like a mile away, just sitting here throwing puddle
Yeah.
punches at you, and there's just nothing you could do about it. It eats your stamina as well because if he catches you
Yeah.
like mid dash, your stamina is just gone, and then you're basically
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're just locked and stunned. And I feel like there is too many puddle punches now. Like I know it's been
It does have infinite.
yeah, it literally feels infinite.
Yeah.
I looked at like a damage breakdown in one of my recent games, and like Viscous was the top damage to me by like 3,000 damage to the next hero. He did like 13,000 damage to me, and it was all puddle punches. And
Yeah.
I just could not
I
believe
believe
it
it.
because I had close quarters and rebuttal, and I'm like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. Like how do I not
Right.
die to this or just not get annoyed by this?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in a 1v1, like honestly, I think it's fine because like in
True.
a 1v1, I'm like, okay, like, parrying the puddle punch is not that bad in a 1v1. Like, yes, it's hard, but it's possible, right? And I'm like, okay, I can accept that. I can accept like, okay, this is very hard, but possible, right? I can kind of live with that. The problem comes when it's like, any situation other than that. And I think that the fact that he has infinite puddle punches is really like the issue at the end of the day, because
Yeah.
sometimes I'll be like, all right, Visca just used 4 puddle punches. Like, I think he's out of puddle punches. And then he just uses 3 more. And I'm like, where did he pull those out of? Like,
How
I
much
guess he
goo
just
does
had
this
them
guy
in the back
have?
pocket. Like, like I don't know. But it's just like with recharging rush, he just like literally has infinite basically. So
Yeah.
it's very annoying, and I would definitely either change the time between charges, which probably would make the ability feel less satisfying to use, so maybe don't want to do that. But at the very least, like I would change the cooldown of it so that it doesn't feel like he has infinite charges, or change the amount of charges he has,
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that. Like there has to be something because it really does. Like you can't even normally like yeah normally if you're like playing against him you'd count it off. You're like, okay, that was like 3 4 puddle punches. He should be kind of out
Yep.
now. I honestly don't even know what to count to in the fights. It's like like you're
I don't
watching
either.
a western or something, and he's got like a revolver, and you're like, okay, was that 6 shots or like how many shots was that? And it's like, oh, he just pulls out a
Yeah.
second revolver, and you're like, oh dang, okay, he's got a whole nother one. Um,
Yep.
it's just so frustrating. Um,
It is. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know. I think there's been a lot of there's been a decent amount of complaints. I know during the last fight night there was the John getting dribbled on, by
Yep. Yeah.
Goober. It was Goober, right? I think that did it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that was the first time I had seen that happen. I didn't know this was a thing until that moment, and
Mhm.
it's funny to see it happen to someone else. I know if that happens to me, I'm slamming my keyboard. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna lose my shit if it happens to me. But it was really
That's
funny
fair.
to see for the first time. I'll say that.
Yeah. I think the dribble is like I'm a little bit less worried about that because it is a little bit harder to do in general,
Yeah.
and so I just kind of feel like there's just gonna be like less people that are capable of doing it, and therefore it's gonna be less of an issue for the average player. And it does have more skill expression, so I think that there's more things that we can kind of you know be like happy about in the sense because it's like, okay, well, yeah, you got dribbled on, but at least like the Viscas had to like, you know, skillfully press some buttons where
Yeah.
when he presses three like 15 times at you, doesn't really feel like he skillfully pressed any buttons at all. And I understand that the game, okay, so I'm a very much a proponent of Deadlock being an accessible game that doesn't necessarily require a ton of skill to execute on heroes. And so I'm not really saying to make Viscas harder with the punch. I'm just saying maybe we just make it a little bit more reasonable and don't give him infinite charges so that he has to at least, even if the punch is easy to execute, huge AoE, make him at least consider his cooldown.
Yeah.
That's all I ask.
Yeah, that's a pretty reasonable ask, I would say. So I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
So
We got a lot of other
yeah.
heroes we can still talk about, though. I think
Yep.
up next, maybe the Wraith. Or do you want to talk about Ivy? Because I
Yep.
know you are a big Ivy fan.
True. I do love Ivy. I mean, we could talk about Ivy because Ivy's obscenely strong. And Ivy's like kind of like been strong for a while. Like it's not exactly
Yeah.
like this is a new thing, right? Like she's been strong, but she hasn't been this strong. Like right now, she's very, 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 very strong. And I think that, there's a lot of reasons. I will say that her kind of like spirit scalings on a lot of her things are just like insane, as well as the heal sharing. I mean, the infinite tether, even though they nerfed it, is still crazy valuable. So there's more things about Ivy that are strong than we could list. But I think that Ivy, I don't know how people feel actually about this, but let me know in the comments how you feel. But honestly, maybe this is a little bit biased, but I feel like even when Ivy's really strong, she still doesn't feel that bad to play against. Like, I would much rather Ivy be strong than Mo and Krill be strong, for example. Like, Mo and Krill feels 10 times worse to play against than Ivy, in my opinion. I feel like Ivy, I don't really feel like super cheated or anything. Maybe it's just good design. I don't know exactly what it is, but to me, it feels a lot better to play against an Ivy than a Mo and Krill
I
right
think,
now.
yeah, I think that is very reasonable. I don't, maybe Ivy is like kind of slides under the radar a little bit because like some of her impact feels a little hidden in the tether and the healing and stuff. But
Sure.
it does feel like you have counterplay options, right? Whereas
Yep.
sometimes to Mo, it's like your counterplay is very limited. But I will say, yeah, Ivy might be in the best state she's been in a while. Like impact she brings to a fight. Like I can't tell you how many times I've been playing
That's
like
crazy.
a gun hero and then like suddenly Ivy just rolls up next to me and I'm like, oh my God. Like I didn't know
Yep.
I could do this much damage, type of thing. And you're just kind of like
Yep.
sick, free fight now. And like she still has a lot of impact from the ult and stone form and kudzu. Like the whole kit is bringing a lot to every single fight. Like the entangle on kudzu now is
Oh yeah.
kind of wild. Like that was a
That's
patch note.
insane.
I was like, oh, is this even gonna like are people gonna even sit inside a kudzu long enough? And I was like, played against it once and I was like, yep, every time. Every
Yep.
time you can't get out of it.
I mean, even if it just vortex web, it's enough. It's
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to kind of like make it very reliable. And I mean, she's in a good state. I definitely think like she needs some nerfs, but like I wouldn't be like crazy about nerfing her. Like, but I definitely think she needs some adjustments, mostly just like numbers wise, right? Probably just adjustments to some of her scalings, which are making it kind of insane. And I think once she gets that, then it's gonna be chill. Basically, that's kind of my take on that
Yeah, I
at the
agree.
moment.
I think the design and the direction they've taken her is really good. So I don't want them to like rework some other aspect of this hero. Like I think it's in a really good spot. It just yeah, I agree. The numbers probably the only thing that needs to be done.
Yeah. Just like I mean, I think a lot of balance is numbers wise, but some of the time it's like, okay, like is this just like even fun? Like, or like which numbers do you need to hit? Like, I don't think with Ivy, for example. Okay, so one thing that some people, I think the most controversial thing about Ivy right now is her ult cooldown. Like, okay, is this
Yeah.
ult cooldown like okay? Because she basically has no ult cooldown. Like, I mean, the moment you use it, even without CDR, like you'll use your ult, and after you're done using it, it'll be like on a 40-second cooldown. You'll be like, okay, well that was cool, I guess. And I don't personally have like a huge issue with the fact that it has essentially no cooldown, but I can definitely see how that feels, how that can feel lame, because she doesn't have to consider her cooldown, similarly to how we said Viscous doesn't have to consider her cooldown, right? So
Yeah, there's
I would be fine with them like increasing the ult cooldown as well.
there's a couple ways to change it. You could set up the ult to where the cooldown doesn't start until the fly ends, basically. So it's like if you just want like a very
Yeah,
quick, like get it, like save a hero and like reposition for the fight, it'll be back off cooldown quickly. But if your plan is
sure.
to fly across the whole map and be in the air for 20 seconds, then you have to wait that 20 seconds before your ability is going to start cooling down, right? Like I think that would
Right.
be a pretty
Hmm.
easy, like a pretty reasonable way to balance it without it feeling like worse for the player, right? In a way. So I don't know. I could be open to
Yeah.
something like that.
I think it's kind of hard because most abilities cooldown starts like before you're done the ability. So if you do that for Ivy, then it might be unintuitive. So there's kind of like, I guess, like game mechanics that you might not want to touch too much on that. But I do think that that would be, you could play around with it. I think there's a lot of things to be done, but I don't think Ivy. I haven't seen like a lot of people complaining about Ivy, despite Ivy
True.
being, I would say, arguably one of the strongest heroes of the patch. Like I would say she's up there for sure. With like the Wraiths, with the Moan Krills, with the Calicos. Like I think that she's on a similar level of strength, and I haven't seen a lot of people complain about her. So I think that that's good design, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we should strive to have more IVs in the game, because it's like, hey, well, clearly when this hero is strong, you don't have everybody up in arms that it's complaining about her. It's kind of just like, oh, this hero's strong, that's cool, and everybody kind of moves on.
People are not moving on from Wraith, though. I'll say this
No,
is
no,
this hero is illegal. I can't believe
yeah,
like how ridiculous this hero feels like, and this is after some pretty substantial nerfs as well that came
yeah.
out of the patch on Tuesday.
Hmm.
But she still feels insane. I don't know if she's as strong in say comp, but in terms of pubs, this hero is unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say I haven't seen as many rates, funnily enough, in my matchmaking games recently, do that well. But I do agree that the hero is insane. Um, I think it's just like the amount of utility that's in her cards, where her cards kind of do everything.
Yeah.
And she obviously, like, it kind of makes sense that you don't even really have to think about it. But they added this cool card mechanic, which is awesome, right? And it just kind of made the hero a little bit overtuned. Now I do think that Wraith kind of like, for a fairly long period of time, was not that good. And so like I believe that heroes should all get their moment of glory, so to speak. Like
Yeah.
heroes should have their month where they're OP and all that stuff. And I guess this is Wraith's month. And so Wraith players, enjoy it for now. I really think that I mean, some of the numbers just still need to be adjusted. Like, the hard card still heals for way
Way
too
too
much.
much. Dude. Yeah.
Like the hard card just, rates half HP, one hard card when she has spirit items, like boom, she's just like full basically from half. I really think people are not building enough spirit on her. Like I've seen a lot of rates that just kind of like don't even go boundless, and I'm like, I don't really understand why, because I feel like it's insane with the new cards. But yeah, I'm not really sure. Like I think short term, all you do about the hero is you just adjust the numbers. I don't think she has like a design thing. I think her ult is probably the most problematic thing. I think you need to make her ult reactable again. That's a big pet peeve of mine, where it's like you literally, like, I don't know how it's felt for you, but for me, like, I don't know, I'm too old. Like I can't react to the ult. It's just way too fast.
I've dodged it a few times. Playing heroes like Mirage at the beginning of the patch when he was out, and before I realized that he's the literal worst hero in the game. But there was like, you could tornado dodge it a few different times, which I managed to do. Um, I think I counterspelled it
Sure.
once, but it was just like it was a prediction. It's not like a, oh, it's
Yeah.
it's coming. There was
You've
like,
counterspelled it too, but you have to predict it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm about to get Wraith ult, and you just counterspell it, right? And that was like the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like an oh shit moment for me, and I ran away and lived. But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a couple ways to fix it. You can make it reactable, or you can reduce the the like amount that it moves you, right? Because like right now, it feels like
Yep.
you get pulled so far
Yep.
into
Yep.
like it's a single target lash hold, like for all purposes of
It
what it
is. Yeah.
is. And
Yep.
so it feels pretty rough when you're playing, you know, against a Wraith and she's already just doing a ton of damage, and you can't really go to the side lane 1v1 into her. Like on most heroes in the game like couldn't even stand a chance at
Yep.
playing in the side lane 1v1 against her. So it
Yeah.
forces you to bring like 3 heroes and have a slowing hex because, you know, she can just project out. So it's a little bit of
Certainly. Yeah.
a it's very hard to deal with in pubs because if you don't have that level of coordination, which sometimes is very difficult to do, especially in the lower ranks. I mean, let's be honest, like sub Eternus, like even Ascendant, it is hard to get that type of coordination going. It feels like this hero just sits on the side of the map, AFK farms, and then has 50k souls and everyone else is 30. Like that has just been
Yep.
a constant kind of pattern I have seen with this hero.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's quite problematic, and you know, it's one of those things where the ult like capacitors you, and you can't debuff remove it. There's nothing you can do, right? The only thing you can do about the ult is you can divine barrier, right?
Yeah.
That's literally the only play that you have. Is you just try to divine barrier, or you buy divine barrier. But if somebody on your team doesn't have divine barrier, if you don't have divine barrier, then you're cooked. So it is what it is. Like that's part of what makes it so powerful. It's like if it was just capacitor but you could remove it, you know, it's not a problem. But since they made ults undebuff removable, which is sorry, you can't use dispel magic anymore, new name for the item, that's kind of changed a lot of balance things. And overall I think that's been a positive change, the fact that, you know, you
Yeah.
can't just like use dispel magic to remove pocket ult, for example. But when it comes to Wraith ult, it's on a very short cooldown, yeets you, guarantees a kill on you. Essentially, it's very, very, very difficult to survive Wraith ult. And so I think that that's probably the first thing that I would address about the rest of her kit, is like she doesn't need to have an ult that powerful as well. And so
Yeah.
maybe either make the capacitor last slightly less. One thing that I would like to see, actually, I think that this is probably the best change, is they should make the base duration of it last less long, and make the max ult version just get the duration back. So for example, make the base duration minus 0.5 seconds and make the tier 3 upgrade on the ult plus 0.5 seconds. Because that would make it so that at least like in the mid game, she's not yeeting you. Like she has to invest in her ult for it to be really strong.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what they were going for with the patch anyway. So why not lean into that with that? So I would do that. So if they do that, then I'll be waiting for my dividends.
All right. That makes sense. I mean, it is true. That's exactly what they did in the last patch, right? They made a lot of the base
Yeah.
spells weaker, but the AP investments feel a lot more valuable. And right now, it just feels
Yep.
like you don't need to invest anything into Wraith Ult, and you're still going to kill anybody.
Yep.
And then you buy capacitor, and so you get 2 of them, right? Like that's the other part, is like
Yep.
she hits a capacitor timing, and you're just like, oh, I'm capacitored, and you're like, if they hit you from it from a while away, you're just dead, and like you just see her like run you down at mock speed, and then you get ulted. So it's
Indeed.
very feels bad hero right now. But we got one more section left, and I know a lot of people are going to be
Yep.
very excited to hear that this is back. It's the Curiosity Corner, baby. We, for those of you who are maybe newer to the Bear Pit, we have, you know, a couple regular segments. The Curiosity Corner has been one, but because of the patches, kind of put it on the back burner for a little bit. But it is back. We talk about one hero and one item, whether or not it's good or bad, what thing, like just typically these are things that are submitted by the community. So if you guys have recommendations for things you want to hear us talk about next week, let us know. Hit us up in the comments. Say like this item is weird or good or bad. I know there was some requests for Sinclair, which he was a backup this week, but we are going to talk about Vindicta first because she's gone through quite a few different cycles as a hero. And I'm curious,
Yep.
Deathy, your thoughts on how Vindicta plays and feels right now. Because, you know, she a while ago
Yeah.
got the rework on her ult to give her scaling gun damage.
Mhm.
They buffed her crows and stuff, but she still I don't know, she still feels like she's a weird hero in the game right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you mentioned that, but honestly, I think that her spot in the game is actually quite nice right now. I would say that you know, she's definitely not perfect. she is one of those heroes that still snowballs, still wants to be active, gets that weapon damage. I've been seeing Vindicta do kind of like a crazy amount of damage in my games recently, like if she's not getting dealt with. So I think that she fulfills her role a little bit more than she did before, in the sense that before I felt that she was kind of a glass cannon, but like didn't actually do that much damage. And so she was just kind of bad.
Just
Like she
glass,
had her,
no
yeah,
cannon.
she was just glass. And, she had her moment where like her ult was really strong due to a lot of changes. And that was kind of like when she was last strong. But other than that, she'd been kind of mostly, I would say, underplayed. And now we're back at a point where I think that, given the right team compositions, she can be very strong. She's not strong all the time, and you can deal with her, and she can be countered. But if you let her run rampant and she gets a couple kills, all of a sudden she's going to start just doing massive, massive damage to you. And I think that that's kind of the hero's identity. The new Crow is interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know how you feel about it. I haven't played Vindicta much since the changes, but it is interesting for sure.
I actually haven't played her since the change, but I've been hit by it, and I was like, "What in the heck was that?" Uh, I think it's a better change in my eyes. I
Okay.
know there was like the time frame where Vindicta was just like sitting a mile back in the sky, throwing like Crow, Alkfire, Stake, Echo Shard,
Yep.
Stake, and like that was kind of like it was. There was did I lose again? No, we're back. Okay, so there was like the moment where like that was I feel like the time she was most impactful outside of like the snowballing off the ult, but she actually felt like she was this like very good utility hero from
Yep.
back range, right? Now
Mhm.
I think the identity they're giving her is we want her to be a carry. Like the idea is she is supposed to be a gun damage hero that
Yep.
has a lot of spirit damage in her kit. But if she's able to actually shoot you and has quite a few kills off of her assassinate, it suddenly her gun is hitting for like 250 damage a bullet, which is pretty
Oh yeah.
nuts.
Okay, maybe not 250 damage a bullet, but like a crazy amount for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it though. I have seen it. I saw
Have you?
Vindicta with like 280% gun scaling and I was like, "Oh god."
Okay. That is a lot.
Yeah.
That is kind of a little bit scary, I would say.
Well,
Um, well, yeah, I mean, I think overall, basically my take on Vindicta is like it's a much better state for the hero. I like where they're going with her. I think that they've pretty much landed in a spot that makes sense for her. Being able to parry during her flight is a
huge.
really big deal. Um, and I asked for this change a long time ago because at the end of the day, it just didn't really make any sense, especially since Talon was always
Talon
able to
could do
parry
it.
in his flight without interrupting, and Vindicta couldn't. So I think that makes a lot of sense. She can now buy counterspell without it feeling terrible. So yeah, overall, I'm very happy with Vindicta's direction, and I think that I look forward to seeing how they look at Gray Talon, right? Because to me,
Yeah.
Gray Talon is a lot more like kind of problematic than Vindicta. I think so.
Yeah, so there was like a little bit of like adjacent theory crafting between the two heroes, right? Like both of them kind of
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
weak in the air for some reason. Like I don't know why that is. Like with Vindicta, at least now she has the parry, like you mentioned. That was a really big deal because previously you just pretty much never got to use it in the game, and without rushing like an
yeah.
unstoppable or something. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it GT. I guess he's always he was was he the first hero we did for Curiosity Corner? He actually might have been.
I think
Uh,
I think we yeah I think he
I
was.
think he was the absolute first hero we talked about where it's like he just needs a rework. Not like so many parts of his kit don't feel synergistic. And
Yeah,
when he's too strong, he doesn't feel good to play against because it's always just charge
sure.
shot, and
Mhm.
you die. Um, but Calic
Yeah,
or with Vindicta, I'm curious if maybe the reason why maybe I don't feel like she's as strong as I was expecting is maybe because some of the heroes that counter her specifically are very strong. Heroes like Mo and Viscus,
perhaps.
even Calico to an extent are all very good because but now that Calico has Z axis and can fly during her ult, makes it actually
Yeah.
capable of her getting into the air and killing them. So,
Mhm.
um, maybe Vindicta will be very good, and she's just kind of a sleeper right now. And if Mo and some of these other heroes get like their numbers tuned down, we might actually see her more.
I think she's really good already, to be honest. Like,
Yeah,
I think that you're underestimating her a little bit, and
probably.
I think that she's got a lot of potential. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more Vindicta already. I think part of it is just, there just hasn't been a lot of people playing her, and sometimes these things go under the radar because the way that a lot of these things happen is like people look at what the top players are doing, and then they kind of copy it. And it's always been like that. I mean, it was like that in Dota. I mean, I was the one that would copy it in Dota, right? Like, it's always been like that. But that kind of makes it so sometimes a meta might take a little bit more time to develop because because the top players may not have figured it out yet. And I think that's where we're at right now with Vindicta. I just think we just need more high level players to play Vindicta, to stream Vindicta, and then I think people will start figuring it out.
All right. Well, now for any of you out there, this is your chance to be that Vindicta player. Get on it.
Sure.
To start streaming your Vindicta gameplay and get to E6.
Yeah.
We
Get
got
to E6, do it.
one more thing to talk about, and it's the good old golden goose egg. We finally did it.
Yep.
We're gonna talk about it finally. And this item, boy, let's just talk about the first thing. Is this a good item for Deadlock? Should this be in the game?
It's a complicated answer. I will say when I saw the item, I was a little bit worried. Just because, I don't know, like soul generation items are always like so difficult to balance.
Yeah.
We've seen it with Trophy Collector, we've seen it with Cultist, right? And so it's like they're adding another soul generation item. And I'm like, I don't know about this. But so far it hasn't felt as oppressive as these others. However, the difference is that it gives you bonus stats. And the thing about the bonus stats is that, they're very difficult to like actually like tell how much value you're getting, especially for the average player. It's very like obscure, right? Because it's like, okay, am I actually getting a lot of value out of this? Like, because you can't really see the bonus stats that you get. I think that's my biggest complaint about the stats right now is like, I would really love it if they could, just make it so that you can see how many golden statue stat you got at the end of the game. Because right now, the only way to tell is if you open up the shop and you go look at your stacks and then you look like at your health, for example. And then if you hover over your health in the shop, it'll tell you the breakdown of your health. And then if you look at that, you can see like, oh, okay, in this breakdown, I got, 400 HP from golden statue buffs. That's the only way that you can tell. Otherwise, there's no way to tell.
Yeah. I completely agree.
It's a little rough.
Yeah, I think that's been a weird thing for a while where there's just is not an intuitive way to look at it. It'd be great if this was a split off little thing, like a split off bar where you could literally just hover over and it's like, here's all your golden statue buffs in one spot and here's the values, right? Like that would be great if there was an intuitive way to look at it. Because sometimes you're like, am I wasting my time going for like these statues? Or am I like, should I even bother? But then like, there's certain games I looked at it and I was like, oh, I have like almost 500 plus HP from golden statues this game. I'm just okay. I did something right apparently. Like that was cool. It is a little unintuitive. It is a little bit misleading maybe on how valuable it could be.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think that's the main thing with the egg now. As far as like the egg itself, I think it's a kind of like a neat little item. It's like you kind of play this egg mini game where basically like, if you buy the egg, there's kind of like a handshake agreement that it's like, all right, well, we're just not going to really do anything in this lane because like all of us have just minus damage. And so I think that's funny. I don't really have a huge issue with that necessarily. But I don't know. It's an interesting item. I'm a little bit wary of it because it's a soul generation item, and they've been kind of like they buffed it a couple times already. I think it's actually quite strong right now, and there's also like been the strat that like I've seen Zergy do on stream, which is basically you buy the egg, right, and then every time before you take like a fight, you just activate it. So like in between big fights, you just have the egg kind of like stacking up, and when you get to like near a fight, you just activate it, and that way you're kind of constantly building up golden statues without the biggest downside of the egg, which is the minus damage. But like every time you're about to fight, you activate it, so you don't get the bonuses, you don't get the minus damage, right? So that's kind of like I guess an interesting play that you can do. It's a little cheesy, but I mean, why not?
Yeah. So I mean, the obvious thing about the egg is that this item was intended for supports, right? Like this was intended to be a soul generation
Yeah,
item for support heroes that maybe don't get as much throughout the game. And then this gives them like a
yeah,
boost at the 10 to 20, anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes where they're like, I can
yeah.
activate this and get to another impactful item to help my team fight, right? Like that was the idea
Yeah.
behind the egg, right? I
Sure.
think the problem with making the item good is you're just gonna see, you know, 5, 6, 7 heroes in a game buying the egg at 800 souls, and then it's just people just sit in lanes and nothing happens because everyone's just sitting there, sitting on their egg, just waiting for
Yeah,
it to hatch, and it's like that.
sure.
We don't want to get to that point. So, uh,
Definitely not.
this is like an item that, like you said, is going to be really tricky to balance, and you cannot make it like. I feel like this is an item you actually can't make good. Like I don't know how else to
I mean, you
describe
can
it.
make it good, but like you can make it good. It just it has to have like honestly, they might need to make the damage drawback just bigger. Like if
That
they want to make the item good, they might just need to make the damage drawback bigger.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But we'll see.
if you want it to be something that's like very much specifically for supports that aren't like your primary damage dealer, then make the damage drop off more, right? Like instead of 10%, make it
Yeah,
15, 20%, and then make the soul generation actually better. Um, but like this is not an item I want to see on, you know, the carries in the game and being like, oh, I'm just gonna buy egg and stalemate the lane, and then I'm going to turn this into a cultist, and now I have cultist, and now it's my new
yeah,
soul generation. Like, I can't even
sure,
imagine
yeah.
like that being the loop for the game. So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. It's a it's an interesting concept. I don't hate the idea for
Yeah,
it. It's just
yeah.
I'm worried is all.
Yeah, I think it's a similar vibe that I've gotten from everyone I talk to about it. It's kind of like, okay, it's a cool concept. A little worried about the balance of it, perhaps, but you know, at the end of the day, look, we're here to test these things. There's really no better time to test it than
Yeah.
now, and you know, we'll kind of see how it goes down, right? So far, it hasn't been that problematic. So far, so good. Like I don't feel like the egg has ruin the game in any way. I think it's
Yeah.
added some fun to it. Obviously, it's one of those things where maybe it hasn't been like fully abused yet, right? It's one of those things where you get a patch and you're like, "Ooh, that's awesome," and then 3 weeks later, you're like, "Well, this sucks." Now that it's being like fully optimized,
Yeah.
so maybe we're in that situation. It's hard to say.
Yeah, we'll see, we'll see. You know, people need to sit on their eggs a little bit more and really theory
That's true.
craft what's going to be changing. There is
Yeah.
nothing quite like winning a game with an egg still though. I will say that is the ultimate
Okay, I've never had that.
BM. That is the ultimate BM. We were winning a game so hard that two people on my team just chose never to crack the egg. They're like, we're gonna win with the egg, and I was like,
Okay,
that is a way to do it, I guess.
that's BM.
Super BM, but very funny.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be, you know, my challenge to all you out there. If you're winning super hard, don't use it. Just sit on the egg. Play the game on hard mode. You know, lose an active slot,
I can't
lose
be associated with
damage.
this.
You know, be great. Good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, look, Deadlock is about having fun at the end of the
It
day.
is, yeah.
And so you got to do what's fun to you. And I think that the egg so far has been fun. And therefore, I think it has a place in Deadlock. That's kind of the take I have to end the episode. Yeah, other than that, I don't really have another take about the egg. I think it's cool, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much it for the episode. I don't know if you have any parting words, rkryptic.
Not just the usual, man. Thank you all so much for listening or watching, wherever it may be. Maybe consider subscribing if you like the Bear Pit. If you're new, welcome. Again, if you made it this far into the episode, congratulations. Most people don't, I'll be honest. So yeah, we'll be back next week with another juicy episode, and hopefully Yoshi does not drop a patch, you know, 30 minutes after we launch this, you know, and we maybe get a little bit more
Yeah.
days to have relevant topic discussions, but we'll see. Until next time, everyone.
Yoshi likes dropping patches after Bear Pit episodes, so
Yeah,
you know
he's a big fan.
it's a good sign. Yep, big fan. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye bye.